Perfect, thank you. Hi everybody, good morning. Today we're going to talk about showing homes. There's a difference with showing a vacant home, owner-occupied home, and a brand new build. So I've got a handout here. For those of you watching the video, just email me and I can always send you the handout. But when showing a home, it just depends on who's there, if it's vacant or not. Because if you think about it, if you live there, it's your personal home, and then people are coming up, pulling up in your driveway and just treating the house like it's their own already. And some people get really offended by that. They're like, oh, they're just acting like they live here already. So you have to treat it, you never know how people are going to take it. So I always say just tread lightly. I personally never, if it's owner occupied, I never park in the driveway. And I tell my clients don't park in the driveway either. I let them know ahead of time. This first house we're gonna view, it's owner occupied, so do not park in the driveway unless there's like no parking anywhere else, and it's one of those developments where you're not allowed to park on the street or whatever it may be. If that's the case, I always let my clients take the driveway, and then I will park around the block if I have to, and I'll walk back. You always want your clients to be there the closest. You want them to have the experience of walking up. But if it's a vacant home, I definitely do park in the driveway, and I tell them they can too if I know it's vacant. So just keep that in mind. Sometimes you'll get the neighbors, it's supposed to be vacant, and you'll get cars in the driveway. So you don't know if it's another realtor. I've been standing outside one time for like 20 minutes and I was like, gosh, they're taking a long time in there. So I go up and knock on the door and nobody's in there, and it's the neighbor that parks in that driveway. So you just don't know. And so you're waiting for somebody to come out, and they just never do. So just keep in mind, you can always access the lockbox. I would wait. If there's a car in the driveway, I knock on the door, wait, and then I'll alert the agent that's in there. Hi, I just want to let you know we were out here. I just want to make sure somebody was inside and it wasn't like a neighbor. Said, we'll be out here waiting. I do not like to show a property at the same time another agent's showing it. Just as if I'm inside with my clients and someone's like, hey, can we come in too? Absolutely not. If they're unrepresented, and because you'll get the neighbors that'll see you open that door and they're like, oh, I want to come in. Nope, sorry. Here's my card. Please contact me later, when it's convenient for you. I'm with my clients right now, but you'll need a proof of funds. You'll need something to show that person, that outside person, is eligible to even purchase. But you don't want to just let random people in that house. The minute you access that lockbox, you're responsible for everything that goes on in that house. So keep that in mind. You don't know who's coming there. And for safety reasons, you're letting some random person follow you into a vacant home. Not great. And especially if it's an owner occupied and the neighbor's like, can I come in there too? No. Things get stolen, broken, whatnot. You don't want to be responsible for that, right? So let's see. First thing I suggest, not parking in the driveway if it's owner occupied or whatever. But educate your buyers ahead of time. This is super important. I always tell my clients, just assume there's going to be cameras and voice recorders and everything on that property. So do not walk up there like I did. I had a client walked up to every house going, hey, it needs a new paint throughout the whole outside. That's $50,000 off, and it needs new landscaping, $10,000. So he's already setting it up to where he's walking up there taking money off the property, and the people are watching that. And guess what? The first two offers, we didn't even get, they just rejected. They don't like that. Don't walk up criticizing their home. They still think they have this castle, even though we're seeing all the things that need to be fixed and repaired. But I say, don't say anything. And I tell my clients, do not mention any money. Don't ask how much off. Don't ask anything while you're in the home. I say, well, let's just walk around. We can talk about and point things out. Hey, look at that. Hey, this might need to be fixed, whatever. And then when you get outside, I say go down the driveway, around the corner, and then you can have a conversation. Because my own property, 2 years ago, I had it on the market, and people walked outside, and they were standing on the driveway, which would have been fine, except for they had a child that was walking back and forth, and he kept setting off my Ring doorbell. So I heard their whole conversation about how desperate they were and how they needed that, to get in a house within the next 30 days because their kids were going to start school. And guess what? That makes me not want to lower my price because I know you're desperate already. So if you're talking with your clients, just make sure that you go away from any kind of cameras. But hey, I have a floodlight Ring camera too that records everything. So it's really not advisable to be chatting at the properties. So keep that in mind. And then also walking through the home. Don't think that they're not watching you. Everything that you touch or move or say or whatnot. It happens. People will leave cameras out even if it's vacant, just so they can watch what's going on in their home. So, but when you're going to go to a showing, you've already set up the search, they've already picked the homes they wanted, you've already made the appointments, right? So you show up at the property, you're gonna locate the lockbox, right? You can grab a packet of paper there and sign in for me, please. You're gonna locate the lockbox. Most of the time it's gonna be the electronic lockbox that we get from the LVR, but sometimes these agents put on the mechanical one. It's like $20 at Lowe's. Not advisable. I strongly discourage you for doing that for a couple of reasons. Those are easily broken into, right? Once you open the box, there's a little tab that you just push to the side and the whole box comes off and they can take your box and leave. So it's not secure way of doing things. And some people, like, they'll use the code, get the number out, it opens up, they shut it, and they don't skew the numbers, so now the next person just walks up and opens the box, and they're not licensed realtors. So really, you are responsible, but also you cannot track who is actually in that lockbox, who access the lockbox and who's in the home, unless you have one of the electronic ones. So I don't have it with me, but we talked about it in the other class. What's going to happen is you have an app on your phone that sees the lockbox. So you walk over the lockbox, you hit enter, and it wakes it up, right? And then you connect it to your phone app, and then it opens the box, and at that point it opens the box, it automatically sends an email and a text to the listing agent, tells them your name, your phone number, your brokerage, what time you access that box, then you take the key out, shut it, and go inside. When you tour around, you come back out and put the key back in there. It lets that agent know how long you were in the house, right? So it gives them all that information. So you really don't want to just let random people in there, but it also, as a listing agent, helps me understand who's in my home, because at the end of every day, I go through that list and I call back the agents that were in that home, say, I see that you viewed my house at 123 Main Street today at 3 o'clock. Do you have any feedback for me? What are your thoughts that I can give to my seller? So it helps me give the seller information as well. So that's why those boxes, I know they're a little bit expensive, they're like $180, but you're going to reuse them. The boxes I've had them for like 10 years. And then if the battery goes down, you just take it back and then they'll get you, here's a lockbox. Oh, okay, perfect. Okay, perfect. So electronic lockbox, right? So with that, you just hit this bottom left corner, enter, and you'll hear the noise, and then you'll have your phone. I hope she doesn't mind, but I'm going to open her box. So you're going to have an app on your phone. It's usually on my home screen. There it is. Where is my lockbox code? Hold, give me 1 second. I have so many apps on here now. Where did it go? Oh, there it is. Okay, yeah. So it's going to, you can't really see it, but it's a little blue thing with the lockbox. You've got it on the MLS, but you click on that, and it opens a little screen here. It takes a second. In this room, it's always slow. But what you're going to do is, that's all you have to do. You hit the enter. Oh, it's recognizing my face. Sorry. Hold on. Let's open that. Okay, so it saw that. And it made that grinding noise, and then it opens the box. So there's nothing you have to do but just turn on your app. You take the key out and you shut it. Doesn't do anything, but then now I can't pull it open, right? Used to, doesn't. No. Yeah, and then so then you show the home, and then when you come back, you do the same thing. So now this app, super important, it says successful retrieve of the key, continue, right? Then it also, the listing is summary blank and showing, and cancel. Okay, hold on, and showing, dismiss. Okay. There's also a pop-up that I strongly encourage you guys to set up. It's a safety pop-up on here. That as soon as I open the lockbox, I enter the home, and it gives me so many seconds or whatever, a minute, and then it'll be a pop-up like basically, are you safe or do we need to contact somebody? If you don't hit dismiss, it will contact that person. So my husband's constantly calling me, hey, you good? I'm good. Okay, good. Like, so it's just a constant thing, because you don't know if it's your clients that could attack you. You don't know if there's somebody in the house or squatters or whatnot. So just make sure you hit dismiss, because it does contact you. And then when you walk out, you do the same thing. I've got my app up. I just hit enter, and then it sees it. Oh, it makes my face. That's whoever you put as your emergency contact. And then if that emergency contact can't get a hold of you, everybody's calling the police. But so that it's that super simple to do that. So let me close close this. Okay, perfect. That's why it's important when you use these boxes, it sends that listing agent. She's going to get a whole report about me now, so I don't know if Tim asked her if I can use her box or not, but she's going to see that I accessed her box. But it's great because it's name, phone number, email, brokerage, what time you were in, what time you left. It gives us everything, right? And then you can go back and follow up with them, and you can send them emails, you can call them. The way I do my listings is I tell my sellers, I'm going to put an electronic lockbox on there. Every day I'm going to go back and look at who has accessed your box. If it's owner occupied, I know because they have to schedule an appointment. But if it's a vacant home, I just put a lockbox on there and they can key any. So they're going by at any time. I don't necessarily know until they've accessed the box. It automatically sends me a text. So at the end of every day that I know somebody's been in there, I call that agent, and then at 8 o'clock at night, I tell my sellers at 6 o'clock I'm going to make all my calls, and by 8 o'clock I will be calling you to let you know what the feedback is I got. If you don't hear from me, it's because nobody's been in your home. Because nobody wants to hear, nobody showed your home today, nobody showed your home. I'll call you when somebody's viewed your property. So then that way I'm not bothering them to say, hey, nobody's been by. So it helps all of us at the same time, but it also keeps track of who's been in there, because you will get agents that won't return the key. You'll get agents that have left the doors open, unlocked, whatever. You go by to check it. Oh, see, now I've got confirm safety is what it just popped up in here. So it's going to be calling my husband, and he's like, you should be at work. So ask me again, end safety timer. I'm good. Looking me, okay, agent safety ended. So I have my contact on there. So it lets them know, because sometimes you get in there and not sometimes, hopefully never, but you might get attacked or something like that, or you're showing somebody that you don't know. Properly showing the home is part of what we're going to do today. I open the door and I say, first when I'm knocking on the door, I get the key. First I get the key. I go to the door, ding, 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 knock, 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 knock. And then I wait, ding, 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 knock, 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 knock. Nothing. I even do that when there's sellers in there, the owners, because I want them to know I'm there. Hopefully they've stepped out, but I want to know if there's a dog on the premises. I want to know if somebody's there and they're just opening the door for me. I don't know. So I announce, and I open the door. I'm like, hi, Wendy Schaller here with Realty One Group. Anybody home? Nope. Hello, hello, hello. Realtor here. Anybody home? Nope. Okay. And then I step back and I say, go in. I don't ever go first. Unless I really, really know my people. I don't ever go first. I don't have anybody following behind me. I'm always behind them. A little bit of safety there, right? So, but I educate my buyers ahead of time. There could be cameras. Do not talk about any pricing or anything while we're there. We can point out things, and then we'll make a list. I've printed out a sheet for myself, the agent full view, or the agent detail view, and then the brochure view, which I talked about the last time, for the clients. And I've numbered them in order that we're going to go see them. So every time we walk in the house, I say just flip that over and make your notes on the back. So you know, because we're going to see a lot of homes today, and they're all going to start meshing together. So you're going to make a list on the back of you like it, you don't like it. Even if they don't like the home and they're still like, let me just view it, but I don't think this is going to be for me. Make notes, I tell them. So you could say, hey, I like this nook over here. I like this over here. And it helps me. Like, you like having the laundry downstairs. Awesome. That's something important for me to know. I don't like how I have power poles behind my backyard. It's kind of important for me to know too. So we see them. If I could see them in pictures, I could say, hey, this is a good property match. Just letting you know, though, there's a power pole. Do you still want to look at it? So any information they can give me. So I like them to write that on the back and give that information to me. But when you're showing it, so you're going to walk up, locate the box, knock on the front door, ding, 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 announce yourself once you open it. So open the door and announce yourself, even if it's vacant. Turn on all the lights. So I let them go through there, and as soon as they go through, I sometimes lock the door. When I shut it, I sometimes lock it. If I know my clients, I will lock the door, because people will come through. You get other agents that are like, oh, we're here to view the house too. Can you please step outside? You will get agents that'll tell you no. No, I'm sorry, we're here first, and now you're arguing with agent. No, I'm sorry. No, we're on a time crunch. I'm sorry, sir, we're already in here. We'll be out here shortly, but I'd like to give my clients time. Do not feel afraid to stand your ground, because guess what? As soon as those people come in there, your clients stop looking. They're just worried about what they're doing. And then they're listening to them. And then, oh, they love it. I got to love it too. And now they're making an offer on a house they don't really even like. It's the fear of losing that house because somebody else wants it. So it's too much. Now you will get those clients that just want to linger, and then they sit down, and then they're making phone calls. And I'm like, hey, let's go do that outside because we don't know if somebody else is going to show up. I mean, it might be hot outside, but that's on them. You know, you can't just sit in somebody's house and tie it up for everybody else, because a lot of times we'll have back-to-back showings in really hot market. So, and if it's a really good house, they move fast. So you don't want to sit there and lollygag because you got 3 other people out there waiting. And again, we all make a time frame to show these homes. So if I've allotted for 15 minutes and then 10 minutes to drive, and I get there and there's 3 other people ahead of me, shoot, I'm not going to make my next appointment. So you don't want to just tie up the home for somebody else. When you get used to just showing it, great. Any more questions? Great. You guys wait by the front door. I'm going to make sure everything's locked, and then we go right out that front door. But all right, so you're gonna turn on all your lights. I like to twist open the blinds and turn on lights, but you've got to remember what you've done. You know, you're gonna walk in and assess. It's like, okay, that blind's open, that one's not. This front porch light's on, but nothing else is on. So when I shut everything, I leave that blind open, that one not, and then I leave that front porch light on because that's the way they had it staged. I don't know if the realtor did it, and I don't know if it was the last agent did it, but that's the way it was when I walked in. So you want to keep it the same. Sometimes they'll keep lights on vacant homes because they don't want it to look like it's so dark and risk, you know, a burglary or something. So they'll leave a front porch on, and a lot of times I'll tape that light switch up and I'll put a little sticky note that says, please leave light on, or please don't lock the top bolt, or whatever it is. I'm putting little sticky notes wherever I need to, but try to leave it the same way that you found it. Don't go in there and turn all the blinds open and then just walk out. Keep them shut if they were shut, but you want to show the house in the best light possible. All the natural light you can bring in, the better, and then start turning on lights, right? There are some houses that are just naturally dark. There's nothing you can do, and a lot of times if they have the patios that run across the back of the house, it blocks all of that light coming directly into the window, so it just makes it a dark home. So you do want to keep the blinds open and then the lights on as much as you can, right? So, guide your clients through the home. I always say, hey, let's try to stay together. Even if it's a vacant home, let's just try to stay together, because there's like a path that I like to go through. Because sometimes you're going to get, the wife goes that way, the husband goes this way, the kids go this way, and everybody's scattered. And then it's like, oh, did you see this? And next thing you know, you're showing the house twice because they all just ran different directions. And, oh, I didn't see that closet over there. So I like to just walk in, kind of go through, then go through the kitchen. And then when I'm showing a house, I'm talking to my clients, but when we get to any of the water sources, like the kitchens and the bathrooms, I walk in and I'm talking to them, and I'm opening underneath the sink to make sure that there's no leaks, mold, rotting going on there. They don't know what I'm doing, but I'm just opening and I'm talking. I'm like, oh guys, did you see the granite? Like, I'm not distracting them, but I'm not trying to point anything out, because next thing you know, they're like looking everywhere. But I'm looking around the toilets, I'm looking around the bathtubs. I see where the bathtub shower head is situated, and then I go immediately to see what's on the back of that wall. Most of the time it's a closet or a bedroom. I want to see if they've repaired anything on that other side, to see if there was a plumbing issue there. Why you need that information is because you're looking for that when you write the offer, because sometimes you'll put in there, in your additional terms, seller to fix this big hole, blah, 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 or seller to leave that stationary barbecue in the backyard. It's whatever you see as you're walking through there. But repair-wise, you're going to get what's called the SRPD within the first 3 to 5 days, hopefully. I try to get it within 24 hours, but it's the seller's job to send you this SRPD, Seller's Real Property Disclosure Form, right? And it's 5 pages long, and it tells you that everything that the seller knows about the property. So why that's important is because if there were any plumbing issues, electrical issues, whatnot that we don't know about. But even so, I've seen something at the house that my clients are like, that needs to get repaired. I'm going to put it in the offer. You know, I'm not going to wait for the repair request to come about. Now I've got another thing to negotiate. I want them to accept that up front, that we want that fixed right now. Then they accept the offer. Then we go do our inspection. Then we ask for repairs. So it's one less thing it's going to be on the report, but maybe they get it fixed before then. I don't know. But again, you want to look at and assess everything that you see while you're walking through it. But you guide them through the home. You're going to point out any upgrades or any repairs that are needed. Like they're looking at the house like, oh, look at how big this room is. I always say, wow, look at the crown molding. They've got the 5-inch baseboards there. Every bedroom has ceiling fans. They're like, oh yeah, it does. Oh, it does. Like they're not looking at that stuff. So it's your job to kind of sell them on the home, but it's also your job to point out the things that are wrong. Guys, I'm noticing, there's water spots all on the ceilings here. That could be a roof leak. Maybe they've fixed it. They just haven't repaired that or painted over that. We need to see if anything's leaking in the attic, what's going on. Or you're walking through and you're like, there's a lot of stains on the carpet here. Just know. And I always, before I take my clients out, the very first time I tell them, just assume you're going to need to redo all flooring and all paint in the house. And if you don't, great, you've saved some money. But we never know what we're going to face, because they're going to walk in there and go, oh, now I have to repaint. Remember, we discussed that already. We don't know. They don't want, like, what if they painted all the walls purple? That to them, that's repainting. You might want white or beige or gray. But they just, because that's why I have some clients that'll say, should I just replace this carpet? It depends, because you might replace it with beige, but the next person wants gray, and they're like, it's brand new carpet. I don't want to tear out all brand new carpet. So they don't make an offer because they're like, never mind, it's too much work. So I would rather sometimes just leave that carpet and then allot for that in the pricing. And then say, carpet allowance has been allotted for that sales price, or in that sales price, because you don't know what people want. I did that in my own house, the one that I just sold 2 years ago. When we bought it, the guy was like so proud of his light wood floors that he put throughout this 4,000 square foot house. And I'm like, I can't live in this. So we ripped it up in the first week, and he came over to get his mail that was left there. And he pulled in the driveway and just saw all the flooring stacked. And he's like, ooh, he was so mad at us. Like, what did you do to my flooring? And I was like, oh, I see. I wanted like dark hardwood bamboo floors. And he was just appalled because he had just done it the year before. They get offended, even though he doesn't even own the house anymore. He was not happy with me. But so that's the thing, is I could see the vision, and I'm like, I'm going to tear it out anyways. But to some people are like, oh my God, they ruined my house. I'm like, okay, no, I just made it my own. But anyways, so check again around all the water sources: bathrooms, toilets, sinks, under kitchens, hose bibs out in the backyard. So things that you want to see for any water issues. Also, okay, so now this is page 2. It talks again about the lockbox a little bit. So you must have the app. I'm going to go over that real quick. Locate the box. Okay, so these are kind of scheduled for 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. You can override that. You can change it. Like, hey, I'm only letting people in from 12 to 5. I don't ever mess with mine unless it's something like, hey, I know we've got kids home alone after 5 o'clock. Well, I don't want anybody in there. I don't even want to have an accident and have somebody walk in this house with kids in there. That's when I would adjust it. For the most part, it's dark out at 7 and people are really not coming to your house at 7 o'clock at night. Now, you will get people that'll schedule and say, hey, they just got off of work. Okay, if I know they're coming, no problem. But it does time out, so just keep that in mind. It'll lock itself down. So, but you wake up the box, push the button. Oh, and if it doesn't connect, and some areas off of Blue Diamond, Southern Highlands, there's the Bluetooth just doesn't connect or whatever. So you might need to get it's called a one-day code. And when you buy your box, the LVR has classes on that. They teach you all that, and you can go online. There's a number you can call. And even when you go on the Lockbox website there, it's got training classes that you can watch. But there's a serial number at the top. So if it's not connecting, the listing agent can give you a one-day code. You hit enter the code and then enter, and then it'll open. But if you don't have that, and you're just like, it sees it, but it doesn't see this exact one, there's another way to access it, and you would just type in, it says find a lockbox, and you just type in that number, and then it sees it, and it pops up the property address it's assigned to, if they assigned it, and then it'll open. So there's just a couple different ways to use the boxes, but for the most part, you saw how easy it is. Just hit enter, walk up, and they generally will open up there. But, all right, so then that's where it goes into view nearby properties. If it's not seeing it, it'll say view nearby properties and give you a list of all the lock boxes around that area. You're just gonna find this code, type it in there, and it'll open that box, right? All right, so showing vacant homes, here we go. We went through all of that. Okay, so like I said, you're gonna look into each room, see the ceiling fans, if there's any water leaks, brown spots, because it is your responsibility to look for that. Your buyers do not know what a brown spot means. They do not know what it means when a baseboard pulls away from the wall. Generally, if a baseboard, if you see it's all connected and then all of a sudden it just pulls away and it's not touching the wall, that's because it's expanded and there's been some water issue over there. It doesn't have to be brown. It just, you can see that something is not right there. So you have to be checking for all those. Sometimes, it says check for broken windows or ceiling cracks and things like that. Certain loans will not allow you to have broken windows, right? When I'm walking up to the front of the house, I look at the eaves along the bottom of the roof line, because those eaves, if they need to be painted and scraped and whatever, you can't get a VA loan if that seller's not willing to do that. That has to be done before close of escrow. So if the seller's not willing to do that, like, okay, we can't get this loan. So I would, before making an offer, I call up and say, hey, we're going to be submitting an offer for a VA loan, but I noticed that the eaves need to be, touched up. Is that something the seller's willing to do? I don't want to waste everybody's time and write this offer. If not, the loan will not close unless that is done. So keep that in mind. Just like broken windows. VA, FHA, they have an issue with cracked and broken windows. But a conventional loan, you're buying it the way that it is. So you've got to start looking for those things. And your lender, if you partner up with your lender, they can give you a list of things to look out for each type of loan. So then that way you can know what to, you're going to know if a house is really dilapidated, you're not getting an FHA or VA loan on that one. It's usually cash or conventional. But it's those little things, right? Cracks and ceilings. You're going to get what's called settling cracks, and they're usually straight, right? But if it's like all of a sudden zigzagging around, something's going on, right? It's just when they tape up the boards on it's usually they'll crack right where the tape is, and that's why they're straight. If they're not straight and you're just seeing cracks everywhere, there's a problem. So just if they're straight, they're generally okay. Again, we don't want to go outside our scope. I do point them out. Hey guys, I'm just noticing that there's some cracks. They look straight. They're probably okay. It will come up on the inspection report, but I'm just noticing that right now. I'm not telling them things to, freak them out and not want to make an offer. I'm just telling them things that, hey, because there's sometimes you'll know your clients. They're getting in there and they don't have a dime to put into this house after they get in. It's got to be move-in ready for them, whatever level that is. So if I feel like there might be an AC that's going to go out or a water heater that's going to go out and it looks really old, I'm just letting them know, hey, that could be upwards of $1,000, so I just prepare for that, or we've got this issue, that issue. This one might be a little bit more expensive to purchase if anything starts going out after we've closed, because you guys are going to have to come out of pocket for that. So a lot of times if you just alert them of that, then they're like, you know what, I just don't have, then they start looking and they're like, I just don't have the money for that. Okay, so we move on. Your goal is to sell them a home, but it's to sell them the right home, guys. It's not just to sell them anything. They're trusting you to guide them through that process. They don't know what they don't know, especially if they're first-time home buyers. They're not thinking about all these little things that you should be aware of that they weren't, because they've never done this before, right? Then look for things that you might want to ask for in the offer, like a chandelier or those wonderful racks in the garage that people tend to fight over. The wife doesn't care. She doesn't want them. The husband's like, I want them for the other house. They don't put it in there. Next thing you know, you take your buyers in there. They're like, I love the racks. And then you go all the way through the transaction, and then 2 days before closing, you're doing a walkthrough and the racks are gone. Husband's furious. And then you call the listing agent and you're like, oh, they were never staying. Well, they were mounted into the ceiling. If it's mounted into the ceiling, it should be staying. Unless you're telling me, hey, racks in the garage do not stay. So I can walk through the house and say, guys, just so you know, they said right here, these racks don't stay. Is that a deal breaker? If you tell them up front, it's no problem, because they know it's not staying. But if they think they're getting it, a lot of sellers also will stage their home and they have this beautiful chandelier in the foyer. And then when you go to close, it's this little builder light. Where's the chandelier? Oh, that was never staying. they will fight and you can lose a deal over that, right? And then they're taking each other to court because they want to take their earnest money and all. Like, it's just a whole big mess. So if there's something that they really like, write it down and just say, just making sure before we write this offer that chandelier is staying. They really like that. And then you get it in writing. Great, awesome. I make that offer. And not only is it in my offer, because I'm going to write it in items that stay in that offer, and then the additional terms, I'm also going to have that backup email that says, yes, that chandelier is staying. If not, guess who I'm going after? I'm going after that listing agent for telling me that it's staying, and now it's not. Somebody's going to pay for that if they've told me that it's staying and it's not, and it's a deal breaker for my clients. I try to ease it because buyers and sellers will fight over everything, so I'm not trying to get into, somebody's paying for something all the time. But there's other times where you felt lied to and your buyers are like, I'm not moving forward, and it's like, okay, somebody's going to contribute to this. What's going on? What can we do? Let's see. Appliances are another big one. Sometimes it could be a vacant home and the appliances are in there. They just might not have moved them yet. Doesn't mean that they're staying. They might put yes in here and then it's no. They might put no and they're there and then they're staying, and your buyers are like, I don't want these appliances. Now I'm bringing my own washer, dryer, refrigerator. What now? Who's going to move these? Da, 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 da. So get that out in the open. Talk to your buyers. Do they need them? Is it okay if they come with them and are you okay with moving them out? You can sell them later. And then once I see them in there, before I write that offer, I'm like just confirming that washer, dryer, and refrigerator stay. And they say yes, but if we're walking through there and they're really nice stainless steel ones, guess what? I'm taking pictures of that. Because guess what? They do the switcheroo. There was a refrigerator in there. I just took the stainless steel one and put the ugly almond color one from the garage in here. They'll do that because they want the house to look nice, and then they're like, well, I left you with a refrigerator, but it's not the refrigerator that we saw. So you did a switcheroo there because we gave you this price of the home for the way that we thought it was valued from the way that we saw it. And then you switch things out. Not okay. So you can take a picture of the refrigerator, open it up, take a picture of that little sticker inside if you really want to go that far, and say that's the refrigerator that we want. So next page, chattel. Does anybody know what chattel is? Do you remember from classes way back when? No? Chattel is the tangible personal property that is movable between locations. It can refer to property such as mobile homes, but furniture and automobiles. So you cannot make an offer and say everything in the house to be included in that sales price, because the appraisers are going to be all, okay, well, how do we value that? We don't know what that is. So what you would do is write, everything is included at no additional value, because now there's no value for anything that's in there. But if there's value to it, it's chattel, and that has to be done outside of your offer. You cannot buy other things outside the offer other than the offer. You're offering on the house. Okay, you're not offering on the car that's outside. You're not offering on furniture, All of that has to be done outside of the offer. Improvements to real property like air conditioners and solar panels, and land improvements like fences and paved parking areas are attached to the property and therefore are considered fixtures. If it's attached, another one we have a lot of disputes over are the curtains. Okay, so the curtain rods should stay because they're attached, but the curtains themselves don't necessarily have to stay. People do leave them. I had a client a year or so ago that she got in there and the lady had Walmart curtains. It was nothing special in there. But when my buyer got in there that day, she's a single lady, she's like, all the curtains are gone. I have to go tonight and buy curtains. And I was like, well, curtains, they're never obligated to stay. This is ridiculous. They're like every window in the house. I was like, she left the curtain rods. She took the $10 curtains, and this lady, my client, was just freaking out. So, but you just never know what's going to set somebody off. But she just felt like I had so much to do, and now I have to stop what I'm doing and measure all these and go to Walmart. And she just wanted coverings because she was moving in that night. I get it. But so when I'm walking through, I'm like, hey, just to let you know, it looks like they've left the curtain rods and the curtains. Don't know if the curtains are actually going to stay by the end. The curtain rods are guaranteed to stay. If they aren't, then we can go back and have them, fix that, put them back up or whatever. But just know that these curtains, I let them know ahead of time when they're walking through. Then when we do our walkthrough, again, usually 2 to 3 days prior to close of escrow, okay, the curtains are here, but they have every right to come in here and take them out. So just letting you know, they might not be there. So be prepared for that, okay? Who wants somebody else's curtains most of the time? And window treatment's one thing. People like to take those off too, where they've had them professionally made for that window, and they still take them off. It's like, okay, where are you going to put that? But whatever. And blinds as well. There's blinds in there. They shouldn't be removing the blinds. The blinds should come with the house. They're mounted on the side of the window, inside the window frame, or plantation shutters. Those are measured to those windows, but people take them off. They should not, right? I will hold up closing. I will say, hey, I did my walkthrough. Do not close until we get this fixed, because I tell title right away, hey, they've taken this out of the house. We are not closing until we figure out what's going on with that. So please hold off everything, because they can't record without letting every side know and agree to recording, right? Fixtures that stay with the property, typically things like blinds and shades are considered fixtures that must stay with the home because they're physically fastened to the window. On the other hand, drapes and curtains that hang on the rod are usually classified as personal property. When in doubt, list it in the contract. If they like curtains, put it in the contract, the offer that you're writing over to them. Because if it's in the offer, most of the time they're like, oh, so excited they got the offer. Sure, you can have my curtains. Okay, it's in the offer. And then that way everybody knows right from the get-go. But when leaving, please, so you view the home and everything, but when leaving, please remember to turn off the lights, close the blinds, and lock all the doors. Someone might not come back in to check that property. If it's vacant, you guys are responsible for it, even if your sellers live here. Okay, your sellers, because sometimes they're like, I let you list the property, it's on you. I tell them they should go by every 3 to 4 days because I'm going to go by as well. And please try to go by. I've had people leave my front doors wide open because they shut it, and then they're talking and they just forget to put the key back, or they put the key back, shut it, and didn't realize that the door didn't close all the way. Don't know. They've left sliders wide open, but they're locking up this side of the house, and their clients are just like, oh, let me just look out here one more time, and next thing you know, it's all unlocked, and that you've already checked that, moved over here, and then they went behind you and opened something else up. So when I'm showing a home, at the end, I'm like, okay, are we good? Any questions, any notes? Great, you guys don't, if you don't mind waiting by the front door, I'm just gonna do one more round to secure everything, and then I'll meet you back there and we'll go out. I make them stand by the front door. Sorry, because you've got kids, you've got, you know, a husband and a wife, like people are going in different directions and you cannot watch it all. So everybody just, once they get to the front, I stand there and I just want, you guys don't mind standing by the front door? Okay, awesome. I'm gonna just shut off all the lights and make sure everything's locked. And they know to wait there. And that is it. And then I start going, shut, 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 locked, pulling things. Okay, awesome. I do tell them not to open windows unless there's something major. I will open it for you. I tell them not to open the garage because sometimes people will put locks on the tracks, and then it starts to open. And then once you hit the button, it starts to open, and then it jams it up, and now you've got their garage open. So I always tell them, you know what? That's something that the inspector will check. If they have a really tall truck or something, or a big piece of furniture, I tell them to bring a tape measure. I generally will have a tape measure in my car, but guess what, guys? I don't measure anything. Here you go. Because if I tell them what it is and then it doesn't fit, guess who they're blaming? They're blaming me. So I'm just like, oh, you guys need a tape measure? Here you go. I can hold one end. I'm going to hold the end with the one. You guys read what it says. Like that, I want no responsibility, because people buy houses because certain things fit in them. So if I measure and he's got a really tall truck and I measure and I say, yeah, it's good, and then his truck doesn't fit and they bought this house, guess who's coming? They're coming after me because you're the one that told me that the house fit. I will not ever measure anything, right? So just keep that in mind. So you're gonna leave, you're gonna shut all the doors and the lights off and everything. If they leave the entry light on, leave that on, lock the front door and put the key. I lock the front door and I jiggle that handle. I try to open that door because I'm responsible. My number is the last one that's in here. I'm responsible for what happens to that house, right? All right, so now showing occupied homes. Now, as a listing agent, I tell my clients, I don't want you there when somebody's showing the home, but there are sometimes you can't avoid it. Let me just turn this air on real quick. It's getting a little stuffy in here. 2 seconds. So if the seller happens to be there, we're hoping not. Oops. Cool. Sorry. There we go. But if they do, because sometimes they're like, I can't leave, my baby's sleeping, I have an 80-year-old or 90-year-old grandmother that's here, they can't, you know, whatever it may be, and they don't leave the house. It makes it a little awkward because your clients are like, okay, yeah, it's great. And then they don't want to touch anything. They don't want to open anything. So that's where you step in. So I walk in and just say, okay, you're going to stay in the house? Great. Do you mind if I just go ahead and open drawers and everything because my clients want to know everything about the home? Yeah, that's fine. I'm opening the drawers because they won't. They won't touch anything. They won't open any cabinet, nothing. And I'm like looking in the kitchen, I'm opening the cabinet. Oh, look we have pullouts. Oh, they're soft clothes, guys. Now I'm telling them everything. Let's look at this closet. Oh, this would be great for, extra storage under here. It goes down and around. Like, open everything for them because they won't. I'm telling you right now, if there's somebody in the house, they're not going to do it. But I always inform my clients before we walk up that it is occupied, and they might have cameras, they might be listening if they are, living in the home. I always instruct them to stay together. If there's people's personal property in there, they are to stay with me. I'll say, please hold your children's hands. I love kids and all, but I've had them just running all over the place, right? And last year, I had some clients that the husband was carrying, and his kids, we opened the door and he stepped back. I mean, these are my long-term friends. I've sold them like 3 or 4 homes. And so we're chatting, and the wife goes in, the kids go in, and the 2 boys there, but the daughter went around, and there was like a big fireplace. And when she went around, he walked in, and it was a vacant home. And so as soon as the door shut, he heard something pulled, and it was his daughter that was coming around. You just don't know, because he's ready, he's prepared. And it just happened to be his daughter, so I'm like, oh my gosh, he almost shot his daughter, but because she just went running. So just have everybody stay together until you can check the house and whatnot. But if it's owner occupied, I say let's just stay together. Everybody, if you can hold the kids' hands, somebody does live here, so we don't want anything broken or stolen or whatnot. You will, if you don't know clients, some people come in there just to steal things, guys. They're stealing medicine, they're stealing checkbooks, they're still you just don't know. You don't know if they're bringing their teenage or young adult, emerging adult that might have a drug problem, and they're walking in there looking for things to pawn, and you're walking and this person's taking everything behind you. You don't know, and if there's 4 of them, you can't watch what the person in front's doing, but you're in the back trying to keep everybody corralled. So I try to limit the showings to just the people that are going to be on title, and if they decide they want it, then yes, we can make the offer and then we can bring everybody back. But sometimes they're like, hey, I need my stepmom or my mother-in-law or grandmother to, okay, because she's going to be living with us, if she can get around, maneuver. Sometimes you have to do what you have to do, but I don't like taking 15 people in to view somebody's house. It's just not advisable. Sometimes I'll say, hey, this one's owner occupied. We're going to have everybody stay in except for mom and dad. You like it if it's something that we need everybody else to see, but right now let's just let you 2 go in there. Let's see. If there's owner occupied, I never park the car in the driveway. I try not, at least. I always access the lockbox to send a message to the listing agent, because sometimes they'll say, oh, the owner's home, they're just going to let you in. I always say, great, would you like me to access the lockbox so you have all my information and know what time I arrived? I give that courtesy to that listing agent so they know, because sometimes I always walk in and hand my card to the seller or the owner, and then they throw it away. Well, now that listing agent doesn't have a clue that I was even in the home. So kind of really talk with your listing agents about how they want you to show that properly. But they'll sometimes say, okay, when you're done viewing it, you know what, you're going to, bless you, they're going to step out. Here's another thing. Seller's going to step out, I arrive, and then I leave and I lock the door. Now I just lock the seller out of the house. So if you walk in and you know the seller's there and they just stepped out, do not lock the door. Or if the seller's walking out and they're going to say, I'm just going to wait outside. Okay, do you want me to lock the door? Are you okay? What's going on? Communicate with them, but try not to have the seller and buyer have discussions. Because the seller could say, oh, I love it here, and what's great is on Friday nights they have like the back street right behind our house is like a drag strip, so we watch the show. Okay, the buyers might not really like that, so they might have just killed the deal for you, right? But that's stuff that you've got to let the buyer see. Once they've got to check it out. If they like the house, you make the offer. I tell my clients, go buy at night. Go buy in the middle of the day. If there's a school bus, if there's a bus drop-off behind your house, you need to check that out, because what bothers one person doesn't necessarily bother another. So I can't tell you, hey, there's a bus stop here, and you're like, that's great. I don't have far to go, because they might need to ride the bus. So to each his own. So I always just say, guys, go multiple times throughout this process because you need to tell me if there's something that you don't like about that. If there are signs to take off your shoes, please follow those rules. There's a reason. You might have a child that's got severe allergies and you are traipsing through their house with dirty shoes. You might have a baby that crawls on the floor and that puts their hands in their mouth, and now you just brought all that dirt in. So if it says take off your shoes, take off your shoes, okay? Super important there. When leaving the house, follow the same protocol as vacant home. Shut off all the lights, lock the doors, unless they tell you to leave that front door unlocked or the garage door. Sometimes they're like, hey, we're gonna leave through the garage, just don't lock that door. Okay, cool. Some sellers just step out. You don't wanna lock them out. So always ask the seller how they want you to lock up if they are there attending it. But if sometimes the sellers are like, I'm gonna stay here, do you want me to give you a tour? I always say no. No, thank you, it's all right. We just like to wander if that's okay. But there are some sellers, they'll kill your deal right there. I'm gonna give you a tour. Everybody stay together. There's this, there's that. You're just like walking like I can't touch anything. Chances of 99.9% of the time your clients are not gonna pay attention and they're not gonna even buy that house. So what I do is I immediately get in the car, bless you, and I call the listing agent and say, thank you so much. I just wanted to let you know how your seller is treating the showings. I don't know that we'll be making an offer because it was so much that my clients really weren't paying attention. But as a courtesy, I wanted to give you that. And then usually they're like, I know I can't get them to stop doing that. They'll figure it out once they haven't gotten an offer. And she'll give that feedback to them. That's all that's important because we're trying to help that listing agent as well. I can't properly show your home because your sellers are like in the way. Because everybody wants to feel comfortable when they're walking through. They want to, okay, can I make this my own home? Do I feel comfortable here? Can I use all this storage? Is there enough storage? Some people like the way that the house sits. Is it the bedrooms? Which child's getting what bedroom? It matters, and if they're so distracted, they can't figure that out. So, all right, so now we're on to showing model homes. Brand new development, right? So, what you're going to do is you're going to find the subdivision that you like, right? The development. If you're new, you might not understand, but you have to be present for that first showing. You can't just, your clients can't just drive around, go show it, and then call you or go see it, and then call you and say, oh my God, we just found these D.R. Horton homes over here. We loved it. So I'm calling you, I want to make an offer. You're done. You can make an offer, but they don't have to pay you. You were not there for that first one. Now, because we're all forced to use the new BBRA, it will have it dated and timed. You might have a leg to stand on and say, no, these are my clients. They haven't canceled, like they just were driving around. I will even tell my clients when we first start looking, before we've ever gone out, you're going to be driving around now. Now that you're looking at homes, you're going to be driving around, you're going to see a new build that's got a sign that says it's in your price range, and you're going to want to stop. Please don't. I cannot represent you if you do not let me be there for the first time and call ahead of time to get all that information. Because years ago, I don't even know, like 7, 8 years ago, I was driving around and it said Toll Brothers, and I was like, oh, there's a new development. This is for myself. And it said starting at like $600,000. I'm like, oh my gosh, it's Toll Brothers home. I go in there, and by the time you're done talking to her, you're at like 1.2. Like this, she's like, we don't build anything less than this because this, I was like, okay, well that was really deceiving, and that just deceived me as a realtor. So you know that's what the clients are doing. You know, they're just driving around looking at signs, and then they're like, oh, there's a development down here, I'm just gonna go. So I always say, if there's something you're gonna see, I'm gonna be looking for resale and for new builds for you that match, okay? I know your criteria, and if it doesn't fit in there, it's not gonna come up on our list because I'm calling each subdivision, right? I start by the sales price. And then I start by, 1 story, 2 story, whatever. So I got my list of questions. But I'll tell them, do not go in. If I'm not with you, do not go in. If you are driving around, you're like, I've got to see this one, stop out front. Call me, and I will call that agent at that new build. I was like, give me the development name. I'm searching. I call them. I'm like, hi. My clients, Mr. and Mrs. Jones, are sitting out front right now. They know better than to just go in, so they've called me. I am over here, and you are over there, and I can't get there for at least an hour and a half. Is it all right? I've given you all of their information. Can they come in? And then I will stop by later today or tomorrow to sign them in. Can I do that? Most home builders are not going to. There's a couple of them that will take advantage of you and say, nope, too bad. But most of them will say, yep, just give me their name, their phone number, their email, and then they send them an email, they go online, they accept it, Wendy Schaller is your realtor, and then they let you in there. They want to sell the home and they don't really want to take advantage of us and hurt us, so if you just alert them, because sometimes it happens. Never fails if you go out of town, guess what? They're going new home shopping. So if I think I can get out of town for 2 or 3 days and not have to tell them what's going on, I always say, hey, what's your schedule like? Or what are you doing this weekend? Okay, oh, great. Oh, you're not going to have time to view? Okay, now I can go. But if they do have time to view and you want to go out of town, you better let them know ahead of time, or you better set them up with somebody else, like a buyer agent, to go show them these homes or be on call when you're not there. Because don't be upset if they've gone without you. It just happens. But now that we have this BBRA, I just let them know, okay, remember, this BBRA says X%, so that if you go into a new build without me and you sign an offer, guess what? You will be having to pay that. If you just wait and let me go with you, they will pay that. Okay? Makes sense. I might not be able to get there in 2 hours, but I can get there within 24 hours usually, so just bear with me. If they're really truly your clients, they're going to wait. But you've already gone ahead and told them, I have a list of new builds that I've called everybody. And I've got a list that we can go to that we fit in this box, but otherwise pretty much nothing else fits that I haven't seen. I have scoured that. We have the MLS, but we have the New Home Source website as well. And I type in there the general idea of what they're looking for, and then I start calling those developments separately and say, this is their criteria, do they fit in, what's the build time? So I've got a list of questions here you would ask them. So before you bring your clients down there, I like to call the builder. And I always say, what's your price point? And they're going to ask you, what are your clients approved at? And then your buyers, if they're just starting out, might not have gone to a lender yet. They might want to try new builds first. Well, when you're trying new builds, you don't really have an idea of what they're qualified for, right? Because they haven't talked to the lender. And if you go with a new build, they generally want you to use their lender and they give you additional incentives. So with that, you're like, it's a catch-22. Do I send it to a lender? Do I not? So we're just starting out. I know about what price point they want to stay in per their monthly payment of what they're wanting. So I do think you'll fit in here, but what's your price point? What's your build time? If you have clients that need to be in a house within 60 days and they're not going to be out, done building for 90 to 180 days, that's not a good fit for them because they get delayed, guys, sometimes. Sometimes they speed up the process, but for the most part, they'll get delayed, 15, 30 days. It's hard to gauge that. If you have rain or if something happens with an outside company delivering something or they get damaged cabinets, like things get delayed, so you just want to allot for that time. You want to give a little bit of a buffer there. But lot premiums. They're like, yeah, I qualify for the home, it's good, but then there's a $10,000 lot premium on top of that because it's an extra large lot, or maybe it's just a basic lot and they're still charging you $3,000 to $5,000 and you're like, now I get less of a home because I have to pay for this lot. So you're gonna ask them all these questions: price point, build time, lot premiums, lot sizes. If you have clients that have kids or pets, you wanna make sure you're not just getting like a little patio that puts a barbecue on there and 2 chairs. They're gonna want, that might be all they can afford, but if they want room for a trampoline or a dog run or something, you need to ask, what's the lot size there? What's the backyard size? Upgrades, what kind of upgrades come with it? Are appliances included? What incentives do you offer the buyers? And that's usually, if you use our lender, we will pay $10,000 to closing costs or give you all the appliances, or they'll tell you what those incentives are. Ask if you should ask for them. Wait a minute. Oh, you're going to ask that agent on the phone, I'm going to come in tomorrow. Should I ask for you, or do you have a shared floor? Shared floor means anybody that comes in, there's 2 or 3 agents that work in there and they're just going to split all the commissions. They're on commissions too, guys. They probably have a base salary, but they're on commissions too. Some of them are like, nope, you get this one, you get that one, you get that one. So they're spending a half hour on the phone with me, and now I come in tomorrow and just work with this person and they just lost everything, right? So I ask them, when you ask them that, they're like, oh, she gets it, he gets it, awesome. She's worried about my commission, I'm gonna worry about her commission. And they will double time, hey, we've got this incentive coming up, or hey, we've got that, which now it's a little tougher because of this BBRA. They're like, hey, if you purchase this one, I'm gonna show you this one, we'll give you an extra 1% commission. The D.R. Horton back in the day would give us like 6% commission. So I'm like, okay, I'll keep 4 for me. I'll give 2% for my buyer's closing costs. Now it's a little bit messy because when you sign that BBRA, that's the max price you're going to get. So if you put 3% on your BBRA and the home builder's giving you 4, guess what? You don't get that 4. You get the 3%. Now you can say, hey, can you give that extra 1% to my clients for closing costs and try to get them to cover that, right? So there are ways around that so you're not losing, you and your clients are not losing that money. But and then see if the realtor wants to set an appointment. Sometimes they're like, hey, I have tomorrow off. Can you come in on Thursday? I work all day. Or I'd like to set an appointment with you so I can walk you through the homes and whatever. I love when they walk us through the models, guys. I don't know their product. So they're going to walk through and they're going to say, okay, our builder gives you this and this and this and this, and they're selling the home, and I'm just walking through and they're doing all the work for me. Because I'm now not having to point out things going, well, I'll ask if this is included and I'll ask if that's included. I don't have to do that. They're selling the product. My job is to bring them to them, and then they sell them on that, and then we work together to get all the pertinent information together to give to title. But I do my part, they do their part. So when they offer to do that, let them do that, because no one's going to show that home better than that new home sales agent, right? But so when you arrive with your client, you're going to walk in and immediately identify yourself. Hi, and I've got my card. Hi, Wendy Schaller, Realty One Group. Are you Sarah? Great, here's my card. How are you? Do you need me to sign in? I immediately start with that. And they're like, oh, yes, here's that. And then you'll sign in. Your clients will sign, sign it saying, yes, you are their realtor, whatever. They usually give them a copy and you a copy, and then they keep a copy and they staple your card to it and they put you into their system. There's a length of time on there. Sometimes are 30 days, 60 days, 90 days, and then you have to keep coming back unless you go under contract. So if I bring them in today and it's only good for 30 days, and in 45 days, they go back in by themselves and say, yep, I want to make an offer on this house. My 30 days have lapsed, so they don't have to pay me a commission. But if I go back in there, but you have to know that each builder's different. So read that little sheet that they make you sign in and just keep going back and just say, hey guys, I know you like that one. Let's go back and see. And every time you go back, they update it in the system. You were there, and it gives you another 30 days or 60 days or whatever. You don't want to miss out on that, right? Because there's times, there was a builder about 5 years ago, one of our agents here, she went, showed the home, then they went back, made an offer on it. She went through the whole process, and at closing day, she's sitting there with her clients, and she's like, well, where's my commission? And she calls up the agent, and she's like, oh, we thought you knew. You didn't come back in every month throughout the process, so we took that commission out. And it said it right there on their form. So she lost, I think it was $18,000. Just sitting there. Yeah, they'll do that to you. There's some builders, most of them are not like that, but there are some builders, it doesn't matter what the price of the home is, we're giving you a $500 referral fee. It's a $600,000 home. Yeah, we only do a $500 referral fee. So when you call up to ask these questions, I'm like, hi, this is Wendy Schaller with the Realty One Group. I have some clients that might be interested in looking at your homes. I just want to get some information. Great, before we begin, we only pay a $500 referral fee. Would you like me to begin? Would you like me to continue? I said, yeah, I'm gonna let you work for that. I said, I'll have that conversation with my clients after we get off the phone. I just want to give them the information. So then they give me all that information, and then I call my clients. Hey, I did call such and such builder, and they gave me all this information, but before we start, it's a $600,000 home. I have a BBRA signed for X%. They're only paying $500, so that $12,000 or $15,000 would now become a buyer expense. Did you still want to look at these homes? No? Okay, we'll just kick those out. All right, no problem. They don't value us, but I still have to give that information to my clients. I can't exclude them. This is what's over there, but you have hired me. So the downfall to that is you have a BBRA signed that they can cancel at any time. But right now, on the very first page, this is not it, but on the very first page of the BBRA at the bottom, number 3, it does state any homes that you showed them while this was active, they have to pay you a commission on if they buy. But then on page 3 of that, line 14 says they can cancel at any time. So now I've called them up, I've given them all the information about this home builder, and they say, nope, I don't want to. And then the next day you get a cancellation, and then they go without you. There's nothing you can do. So it's tricky, but You don't want to, and hey, if you're going to be that shiesty, and maybe I don't want you as a client anyways, but I don't want to go and do all that work for $500. I like it. It's not even worth the gas at that point, because now you're liable for everything that goes on in that transaction for $500. So if you get sued, that's not even going to cover your court fees and all that stuff. It's not worth it. At some point, you have to reevaluate what it is that you're making as opposed to the liability, right? That's why I never represent anybody. Zero. No, I'll do it for free. I'm not. It's too much of a liability for me. Even if you're family, you're still paying it. If I get sued for something, I'm going to cover as much as I can for you, but it's got to be, you got to pay. But okay, so when you arrive with your client, you immediately identify yourself, sign yourself in, and then here's the thing: when you sign yourself in, sometimes they'll say to you, just go view them first, and if you like it, fill it out. Always fill it out. Say, okay, great, go view it, come back and say, you know what, we're still thinking, can I have one of those forms to fill out? Because your clients might tell you no, and then a week later they're like, you know what, let's go back there. And then they go back without you, and then they go under contract. And you did all the work, but now you're not in their system because you never filled out a form. Just fill out a form. It also shows, you could put it in your file, look at all these things that we've done and all these houses we've seen and all the new builds I showed you. It's just proof that you're doing your job the whole way through. But never go to a new build and not fill out one of those forms, okay? So go over what your clients are looking for in the price range with them. They'll give you usually a price sheet and the floor plans and all of that stuff. So you're going to go through, they'll tell you, and then they'll say, hey, you're probably going to want models 2 and 3, but not 1, or what they'll tell you. Then you're going to view them. Make a list of questions if they have it, and then go back into the sales office and ask any of those questions. But then ask about their inventory. Hey, they like floor plan number 2. What's your inventory? Time frame. Because they might say, hey, we don't have any of those, or we have a wait list of 25 people. And don't let the wait list scare you, because D.R. Horton's doing that now, where they build, but they don't release them until they're 45 days out, right? And then in 45 days, they're going to close and they're going to move in. But so people out there, they're on these wait lists for Model 1, Model 2, Model 3. That's fine. I had some clients on a wait list, and there was 42 people on there, and it took them less than a month to get a house. Because people, they'll go through the list, and then those people might not be ready. I'm waiting for my next paycheck. The next one was like, I don't like that location. The next one's like, you know what, not a big enough lot. You don't know, so they just keep going down the line, and then they get to you, right? Just put your name on that wait list, and if it works, but don't stop showing them homes. Just be on the wait list everywhere, right? Let's see. Ask upgrade. So you're going to ask them, and then also any upgrades. What's included, what's not. So while you're standing there with your clients hear it from their mouth. And you're making notes because they might hear, no, they said the refrigerator's included. Very rarely are the washer, dryer, and refrigerator included in a model home. Very rarely. Okay, that's a separate appliance package, and they have different levels. And they'll tell you, a good sales agent will tell you, don't buy ours because we just marked it up 3 times what they're worth. Just go get them somewhere else, and they're really good about that. Same with flooring too. They'll tell you like, hey, what kind of flooring are you looking for? Yeah, it's gonna be double if you do it with us. Just get the standard flooring and then just go get it somewhere else and have somebody else pay for it. They're, sometimes they're really honest about that kind of stuff. But then you're gonna ask them about earnest money. Hey, if we do want to move forward, what's your earnest money? Some of them have $3,000. $3,000. Other ones are $20,000, non-refundable after 3 days. Yeah. So and it's a year to build it. So now they've just taken $20,000 of your money, and you're sitting there for a year, and guess what? They get tired of waiting. They've already lost $20,000. You're not getting that back. So just keep that in mind, right? Ask them about closing cost incentives. If we use your lender, what incentives are you going to give us? That's when they start throwing in the appliance package or this, or $10,000 towards closing, or never know. You never know what they're going to throw in there. They're going to pay off your sit and lid balance. Who knows? So I always ask them. Amenities. What amenities are offered in this subdivision? Is it gated? Does it have a dog park? Do we have a swimming pool? Like, what's going on in there? HOA fees. You always want to ask what the HOA fees are. If you're in a master plan community, you're going to have a subdivision HOA, and then you're going to have the HOA master plan community fee. So you're going to have 2 fees there. if it's gated, what the schools are. If your clients want to make an offer on something, the realtor will go over the process. So they'll just say, you know what, I do think they are really interested in it. Where do we go from here? What's our next process? And usually they're going to hand you a card to the lender. You need to qualify with our lender. Even if they don't use that lender, most of the time they're going to have you qualify with their lender, because if you go with an outside lender and at the very end that lender falls apart, they already know their lender can approve you. So it's not that you have to use them, but it's really more beneficial if you do use their lender, because they'll give you all these incentives. And the reason why they like you using their lender is because if there's a delay or whatnot, the lender's working with them like, hey, I've got them locked till this, we need to push them, so then they know what order to put you in, and so it really works seamlessly when you use their people. They're not trying to do it just to, be shiesty. They're just trying to keep everything together. And when you have an outside lender that doesn't answer the phone after 5, and it comes a little bit harder to work the whole process. So if your client wants to think about it, ask your realtor if it's all right that they might come back another day without you. Say, I've already signed in. If they're going to think about it and then they're going to bring their kids back on Saturday, if I'm not available, is it okay that they come in? You have me in the system, right? You want to make sure you're securing your commission, guys. Because if they say, no, you have to be back there, and very rarely do they do that. Once you've brought them in the first one, I'll say, I'll do my best, or I'm going out of town. I'm not going to be here. I had a guy in Pahrump. I was selling a client in Pahrump, and then an agent at D.R. Horton. I was like, listen, I just left for Yellowstone. I will not be there for a week. And he's like, no, sorry, you have to come out here. He goes, we are making it mandatory for Las Vegas agents to drive all the way out to Pahrump. Because if not, if you won't come on the first one, you're not going to come the whole process. He's like, you are going to leave your client high and dry. I said, listen, I am not that kind of agent. So luckily I have a friend that lives out there who's also a realtor here at Realty One. So I just called her. I'm like, can I send my clients down there? Can you just go and step in? And I said, so he put my information down there, but I said, my realtor partner will be there with them, but I represent them. I'm not physically here to be there. And they're like, that's cool. And then I sold 2 other homes. So I sold him and then 2 other homes in that development, and I didn't have to go back. I did every time, but he's like, Wendy, I got this, just send them. And I'm like, no, I go with my clients. I told you I go with my clients, but I just physically could not do it that one time. And I'll go, Pahrump, hour and a half away, depending on what side of town you live on. But I would go probably once a month, or hey, what's our next milestone? Okay, I'm going to come out. I like to take pictures when we're building. So my clients, and I make a little book at the end, and then I give it to them as part of their closing gift, that they see the construction of their home. It's really cool when you do something like that. And or I'll text them, hey, just drove by today. This is what we're looking at in case you can't come out here. And then they love that. Even if it's here in town, I do that. Hey, stop by the house today. And one time I was passing my client as she was coming in. I was coming out. I'm like, hey, how's it going? Great, I'm just coming by. So they see you there doing stuff, because otherwise they're like, you did nothing. I'm like, yeah, my whole big file acts like I did nothing, but they don't see you doing it. So when they see, oh, hey, I just want to give you an update, I'll take a picture of me in a hard hat, because when you're going to view their properties, when they started building, you have to check in with the agent over there, and they have to give you a hard hat. You are not allowed to just pull up and walk on that property whenever you want, because there's something falls or whatever, they need to check you in, they'll give you a hard hat, and then you can go over there, have to wear closed-toed shoes to tour. But I usually just pull up out front and take a picture, unless it's like, hey, I know we're getting cabinets and countertops, let me go in, so I go into the front and just say, hey, can I go into the property? And then I take a picture of their countertops and things. But just make sure you check in. You've got to let the new home builder agents know that you are on premises, right? And then your clients will hear, okay, so when you ask if they come back on Saturday and I'm not available, can they come in without me? Your clients will hear what they say. So if they say no, you have to be with them until they go under contract. Okay, guys, you understand that? You can't just come back without me, okay? We're trying to do here. And then when we leave, I say, guys, the reason why I have to be here is because if I'm not on that document when you sign your contract, I can't negotiate for you. I can't try to get more. I can't try to extend times. I can't try to have them throw in blinds or whatever. I'm negotiating the whole process with you. If I think that something warrants a price reduction or whatever, I have no leg to stand on if you do this without me. You guys can go do it. And I'll tell you, back in the day, I bought a Pardee home, 2005. I was a realtor at that time. And I walk in there and I tell them, oh yeah, we're looking for ourselves. Everything's great. And we walk through everything and she's like, okay, come back tomorrow and sign the contract. So we signed the contract and she goes, okay, so now you just need to go down there and pick the kind of countertops that you want. You know, it comes with standard tile. I said, no, it doesn't. It comes with the granite. She goes, oh, no, we took that out yesterday. I said, you did what? I said, nowhere does it say that. She goes, oh, I gave you a form to sign. And I'm like, if you were going to do it, it was $14,000 to add these granite countertops to my kitchen. And I'm like, but that's not the way that you portrayed that we talked about this yesterday. Oh, we changed it last night. Okay, if you're going to do that to me, a realtor, what are you doing to the general public? They're not honest. So that's why we are the eyes and ears for our clients. You know, things like that happen, and they do. They evaluate from time to time, and they're like, hey, we got to do a price cut. What are we cutting out here? And it's not that they were trying to be shysty. She could have explained it a little bit better because yesterday I had them and today I didn't. But it just goes to show you that we are in the business and we can get taken advantage of. The general public, they don't have a clue what's going on. So it happens, right? But, okay, so that's how to show the new builds. On here, this is the agent's view when you're showing a resale home, right? And then there is, I think I put the brochure view behind that. Let me see. Oh, I did not. Well, there's another one. It's called the brochure view, and it's got a picture up here of the house, right? And it doesn't have, the difference is this agent view has all this personal information for us agents. This form, this agent view, should never go out to the public, only licensed realtors, because it will have gate codes. It will have, what else in here? Well, it used to have the commission in there, but now it does not. So mainly like gate codes, and then it's got agent-to-agent remarks, which is now down at the bottom. They switched it around a little bit. Those agent-to-agent remarks will tell you personal information like alarm codes and things like that that the general public should not have, right? So when I am showing resale homes, I print this view out for myself, and then I print the second view with the little picture, because it'll have everything from here up for them. And then that way when they pull up into the house, they're like, oh yeah, this picture is the same house, got it. So what I normally do is I number them 1, 2, 3, 4, all in this top left corner. And then when I'm setting appointments, I'll put like this one has an appointment, the next one is vacant, so I'll put V for vacant. But I'll put appointment, and then I'll put 1:30, and then I'll put C for confirmed, that they confirmed. But what I do is I put them in the order that I want to view them, and we talked about this last week, but I'll put them in the order I want to view them, and then I put a time frame, like 1 o'clock, 1:30, 1:45, 2 o'clock. And then that way when I call up, hi, I'd like to view your property at 123 Main Street today at 1 o'clock. Is that available? Great, confirmed. And if it's not, and I get a message, I put a question mark. And so then I know how to schedule my showings, right? So with these forms here, you're going to have all your information about your house. You're going to have your public remarks. And then this agent remark, like I said, is down at the bottom. I always read that agent remark because that agent remark is going to tell you sometimes how to set the appointment. It's vacant, key any, or it'll say only showings on Saturdays from 1 to 5, or do not use showing time. You've got to pay attention to that because like we said in the last class, there's a $250 fine if it says do not use showing time and you use showing time. They can call up and report you, and now you're getting fined because you did not follow those directions, okay? So you have to listen to what they're saying. But also, it'll tell you what your HOA fee is. Super important because your lender, you've already approved them with the lender. The lender's like, hey, they're approved for $500,000 as long as their HOA and taxes, or the HOA stays below $85 a month, and then their taxes stay below this, blah, 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 blah. Because it's all debt to income, and it's all got to work out. So you can put a block on that, but I wouldn't. Like when you're setting up a search, I would say $500,000, and I would leave this out because guess what? You might get a house for $480,000, which now means you can go a little bit higher on that HOA. So you don't want to stop it in certain ways, right? So,
When they say that the owner may have a short lease.
A short lease?
Yeah, like a gated house lease for the buyer for a short time. It is
Like a rent back?
Yeah, like a rent back.
It just depends on each client. Like, if your client needs to move in 30 days, then yeah, that's a problem. Don't make an offer on that house. So I would call up ahead of time and say, hey, my clients have to be in 30 days. Should I even bother showing this home? And they're like, my clients are getting their house built and they can't leave until this date. Okay, this is not going to work. Now, keep in mind, if you have a client that's got a loan, if they're doing an FHA or a VA loan, they have to be in that house 60 days or less. So if you see this, it says buyer needs a 6 month, or a seller needs a 6 month rent back. Do not even show that property because they have to legally be in that house in 59 days, really, or less. Otherwise, that loan becomes
they call it, and then they have to pay that loan in full. You can't. It's like, now if they get a conventional loan or cash, yeah, they can let the seller stay in there as long as they want. You're just gonna write up another, like rent back, or after a certain amount of days, usually after 30 days, I recommend doing a lease agreement. 30 days is just like, hey, I need time to move and we're moving across country, whatever. But any more than that, you become a landlord. Some people don't wanna be a landlord. You have to worry about deposits, all of that time frame when you're doing your walkthroughs, and then the keys and all of that stuff. So it becomes a little bit more convoluted. So just know that if you're looking for homes, they have to be in that house 60 days or less for a VA or an FHA. Yep, super important. But other than that, anybody have a question on how to properly show homes? No? Perfect. I don't have the calendar, so I don't know what next week's topic is, but if you guys need anything or have any other questions or need a printout, just email me, call me, and I'll be happy to assist. All right, thank you.